A wonderful good morning to everyone. Bitcoin at 69,700 US dollars. Absolutely nothing has happened. We are proud that Bitcoin has once again fallen below 70,000 US dollars. We are happy that the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Even though Trump said that peace is near, at the same time, apparently mines are being placed in the Strait of Hormuz. Then yesterday it was said that ships are being escorted by the Navy through the Strait of Hormuz. Somehow, an hour later, Iran says, yeah, maybe on the PlayStation. Now the Navy itself says it's somehow too dangerous to go through there. What an awesome shit show. And with that, as I said, welcome to a new crypto update video. Yeah, Bitcoin at $69,800. The shit show continues. There really is not any relief, you could say. The only good thing was that yesterday earnings came out from a company that had been performing pretty miserably over the past few weeks. At least there's a bit of hope in the AI sector, but we'll definitely take a calm look at all of this now. Before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, feel free to join the free Telegram talk and Signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, you're welcome to join. You'll find the link for it for free down in the video description. There you'll always be informed whenever something new happens or whenever any trades are made or new update videos are released. You get all the information here in the free group. So I'd say let's not waste any time. As I said, Bitcoin is at 69,800 US dollars. The market has been gradually sold off again yesterday after there was ultimately no real relief. The stock markets, they pumped yesterday at first. Stocks rise as crude oil falls below $90, bright and smooth. So oil was at 80, between 80 and $85 yesterday. Now it has risen slightly again. Then, as I said, there were comments from Trump. Yes, the war is almost over. And the US Navy and so on, they're providing support and saying, no, go ahead and sail through. And so everything is supposedly safe. Then rumors emerged that apparently mines had been laid again in the Strait of Hormuz so that no ships can pass through except for the Iranian or Chinese ones. Because they're friends of theirs, that's why they're allowed to pass through. And with the USA, the relationship isn't really great right now. Bombs, well, the mood isn't really great. Bomb. That's why they're not allowed to pass through there. First, it was said the Navy would be involved, then not after all, and honestly, it's a shit show, friends, really. In any case, the stocks apparently still like it, even though you have to say, especially the banking sector and the private credit sector are still massively under pressure. So the next one that's come out now, there really is extreme tension there. We definitely shouldn't get involved in the private credit sector. Absolutely keep that in mind. And it's written here as well. Some of the gains in stocks got curbed after the Financial Times reported that JP Morgan Chase and Co.'s told private credit lenders that it marked down the value of some loans. The market is cooked, in my opinion. So it's still pretty, how should I put it, still difficult to time anything in general because gold continues to rise, bonds are rising, oil is at a very, very high level where it could shoot up again at any time. Although it certainly has to be said there could be a bit of welcome short-term relief right now, because the International Energy Agency has just officially released the largest emergency oil reserve in its history, which amounts to a total of 182 million barrels. That's not really a lot, though, when you consider that apparently 20 million barrels pass through the Strait of Hormuz every day. So you can calculate for yourselves roughly how long that will last. Approximately. I'd say about 10 to 14 days, and then we'll have the same problems again if nothing changes by then. Above all, the next issue is simply that a lot of countries have completely cut their oil production. That's also mentioned down here, like this. Saudi Arabia, normally 10 million barrels, now only 2.5 million barrels. United Arab Emirates, 3.56 million, now only 800,000 barrels. Kuwait, 2.57, now only 500,000 barrels. So you see oil production has been reduced to the bare minimum. It's been scaled down by now. And you can see it quite clearly here as well. It was 20 million before the war. Now it's only 6 million. So only about a third of what is being produced now. Of course, this is also because oil fields continue to be attacked, or refineries, which obviously makes it much, much harder to resume production in any way. So it just triggers a whole chain reaction. Still, there is some good news. Oracle released its earnings yesterday, and for the first time, they were positive, and after hours, the stock initially jumped up by 10%. And even the cloud business, which has usually performed very poorly for most companies, did somewhat better this time. So there's a bit of hope again, at least for Oracle. Otherwise, the market is pretty quiet. Actually, if we take a quick look at the heat map as well, it's the same picture as yesterday or the past few days, basically. We still have a small cluster between 72,000 and 74,000 US dollars. Then there's another one between 65 and 64, at least over the past 7 days as well. Heat map. On the 1 month heat map, the range from 60 to 55,000 is still the benchmark for us. Then the spot order book. Yesterday in the live stream, we talked about how there was massive selling yesterday. Now, at least in the early morning hours today, we're seeing some slight buying again, 10, 20 million. But let's be honest, the volume is still completely broken. So as long as we don't see any significant changes in any segment that somehow contributes to easing the situation, whether it's the Strait of Hormuz, the private credit sector, or the AI market, as long as that's the case, we'll probably continue to see this kind of choppy price action and just have to make the best of it. What I also don't really like is if we draw the Fibonacci level here, from our top down to our bottom, we've ended up right at the golden pocket retracement again. So it's not exactly something that looks particularly strong. And it also doesn't really signal strength for the coming days that we're going to shoot further upwards. So as I said, for me, it's still like this 72, 73,000 up here is pretty much the maximum in my opinion. Maybe this inefficiency here as well, but it's going to be difficult. Without volume, without any positive news, I mean, everything right now revolves around the USA, Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, because that's also important for inflation, etc., and so on. Of course, that's going to be very, very interesting. But as long as there isn't any positive news coming out of that, I remain pessimistic. Next topic, what's coming up today at 1:30 p.m. are the BPI data. It will be interesting to see whether they already start to pick up a bit, even if only preliminarily. This is all still pre-war stuff. And above all, what the core rate looks like. Those are the crucial points that that the Fed will definitely be paying attention to. So today at 1:30 p.m., please pay very, very close attention to that. Depending on how this data turns out, if it does come out negative and inflation rises, then good night market and we're heading down again. Let's move on to the altcoins. Ethereum, absolutely no liquidity. Solana, absolutely no liquidity. So, yeah. Even XRP is dead. I really have to say it, but even XRP is dead. I'm sorry. Let's go back to the traditional markets. The dollar is picking up a bit of momentum again. Still definitely above $98, or rather 98. Strong value, JPY. Yeah, you know what I'm getting at. I'm not going to bring up that topic again now, but keep an eye on it. As soon as any news comes out that Japan is selling US debt, that thing will shoot to the moon again and the dollar will tank. Just by the way, gold is still riding high at $5,200. It's the uncertainty. Sorry, the only thing causing gold to rise at the moment is global uncertainty, because otherwise there's nothing. Interest rates remain higher for longer, probably at least until July, if not even until September. That means normally gold should actually take a significant dip downwards, but as long as the uncertainty is simply there and you can really notice it first and foremost, we don't need to worry about it. Silver, same story. Looks exactly the same. Then let's move over to the traditional ones. That means DAX barely moved at all yesterday. So as I said yesterday, if you're short, take profit and you're good. Dow Jones, no real price action. Nasdaq yesterday again at least closed slightly in the red again. But no matter what we look at here, I can show you the volume here again. On the daily time frame, the volume is again below average. And yesterday it closed in the red again and is more or less back in our support zone. So it just doesn't look strong at all. And then let's also take a look at the volatility index. But let's switch to the 4-hour time frame. It's already rising again. So in my opinion, no matter how you look at it, there are still absolutely no signs of any relief, of any lasting relief that should, or better said, could push or pump the prices all the way up. The volatility index is still too high, still at 23, which is a very, very high level. Any kind of news can cause the markets to completely crash at any time, just as a precaution. Several percent, then we'd have the correction and that's it. And then the volatility index would go crazy, 30, 33, and then there would be a complete sell-off again. Because as I said, the entire stock market, well, Google isn't really benefiting. Nvidia remains stable. Microsoft managed to recover a bit again yesterday, but what can you say about it? As long as the bond markets look like this and are even rising again, we just know there's a crisis, safe havens are in demand, and unfortunately, Bitcoin doesn't count among them. I'd say that's it from my side. Thank you very much for watching. We'll hear from each other again tomorrow morning with a fresh update video. Otherwise, feel free to join the Telegram group. I'd be happy about that. And with that, that's definitely it from my side. Thank you for watching. I wish you a nice and successful day. Until then, ciao, ciao. And as always, stay creepy.